How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Cyber Clinic Central. My name is George, and today I'm joined with...
Bianca.
How you doing today, Bianca?
Pretty good, George. How about you?
Good. It's a new year. We're back. It's a new place, new faces. So I'm excited to be back on the podcast, and I'm excited to be here with you talking about the Cyber Clinic and everything we got going on. So couple run of the house, show of the house things before we get started. Yes, we are in a new room. This does not mean our first space is gone forever. We're going to be going back and forth, trying different setups, trying different ways to have the podcast, just to want to improve the overall experience for our listeners and our viewers. So this is the first episode that Bianca is on, and this is also the first episode that we are here in our second home, because we're moving homes. We're Airbnb-ing podcast locations right now. And with the new room, there's another point I want to address before we get into the podcast episode is, where is the original host, Mehdi, right? It's been about 3 episodes. We haven't seen him. Mehdi is coming back, and Mehdi will make a return on the next episode. He is dying to get back here. He wants to be in front of the camera, in front of the mic for you guys to listen to him. He was begging me to get on today, but I was like, no, we got to let Bianca get her time today. You're not interrupting her today. So with that coming up on the podcast episode, just a little preview, we'll have some special guests, actually. So up to this point, we've had clinic members like Bianca come on, Carlos come on. But going forward, like we previously mentioned, we're going to have special guests from different industries come in and talk about cybersecurity with us, just chop it up and talk, and looking forward to that. And yeah, what do you think about that?
Looking forward to all those guests.
Yeah, we got a couple lined up. Who they're going to be, you're just going to have to find out. Tune in. So today, we're with Bianca. Bianca, you want to give us a quick intro? Who you are, what do you do in the clinic, how long you've been with us?
Sure. So I've been in the clinic for almost 2 years now. Wow. Time flies.
Time flies.
So I'm currently the public relations officer, so in charge of social media and making sure the podcast will be looking great when we post it. So.
Thank you for the post-processing.
Yes. So I've done quite a lot of things in the clinic. I've helped to write the SOP, like our standard operating procedures.
Nice.
I've helped out a lot with Gen Cyber, which we will get into later. There's just so many things to touch on.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear it all from you, because getting you on this podcast and getting to hear your whole story and have everyone hear your story is super. I think it's super important and super cool and inspiring. But before we hear more from Bianca, we're gonna get into some quick clinic updates. The last time we had a Cyber Clinic Central episode, I believe, was July of 2023. Why so long? You might be asking, George. Stuff happens. I apologize. I will be better. We will be better. And we will get more episodes to you, because that's what we want to do. But unfortunately, we're doing what we can. And it is February 2024 at the time of this recording. So we definitely some things have gone on. And me and Bianca are going to kind of update you and touch on those things. So first thing, Bianca kind of led into that already, is Gen Cyber. Gen Cyber is a cybersecurity camp that we run for middle school and high school students. It happens in the spring and summer, but probably our most groundbreaking iteration of it happened this last summer, 2023. So Bianca, if you want to get into that and let them know.
Sure. So this past summer, it was the first time Gen Cyber had a cybersecurity escape room. We built it from the ground up in a classroom right here on campus. That's
awesome. So tell me a little bit more about the escape room. Like, how many rooms were in there? Like, how'd you have the team set up? Like, was there certain qualifications to get an escape room? Like, how was it all kind of like planned out?
Right. So we decided to build a theme for Gen Cyber going forward. So this year we created a villain, Ace. So he challenged the students to see like who could get into the escape room, like the top performing teams, like 3 of them would be able to get into the escape room.
Okay.
So there were about 8 rooms within the escape room that the students would have to go through, with all sorts of different challenges, at least 2 in each room, from having to try to turn on the lights, having to figure out phishing emails, lockpicking, steganography. There was even some social engineering involved.
Your favorite?
Of course.
So you said there was 3 teams, but when I came and observed the Gen Cyber Camp, there was a 4th team. So you guys kind of did like a a all-star team, it kind of seemed like. So what was up with that?
Yes, the dark horse. So we decided that for the fourth team, that each TA would pick one student from the table from whoever did not get into the escape room. Mm-hmm. So a student from every table it was just like from all different backgrounds. And then they just meshed and worked so well together. I mean, that team, they got through majority of the escape room within like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was seeing that because like kind of before the escape room started, everyone's like, let's see how they do. Like, are they going to challenge like all these other teams who've been like basically running the show, the whole camp, right? And to see them go that far, I like a good underdog story. So for me, I was rooting for them. To see them get that far was really exciting. Did anyone actually get through the whole escape room?
Unfortunately, no. Mm-hmm. But I mean, hey, that just means we got to improve it. We got to step it up and try to like.
What was the last room? Because I know a lot of the teams got stuck on the last room.
Right. So that was dealing with Wireshark or just some like subnetting. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely a little difficult. And I know the last team, all they had to do is just alter something with like the script, and they were just like so close to like winning, but they just missed it.
Missed it by a little bit. I think it's just super impressive to like see like we said earlier, like middle school and high school kids, the challenges that they're doing are equivalent to some of the teachings that they're giving at the college and even graduate level in cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is just such a new field. But for them getting that exposure so early on, getting exposure to something so early on like really builds a better understanding, I feel like, because you've seen it like seeing it like 14, then you come to 18, you've already had so many years experience, whereas somebody just going into college for undergraduate or graduate class, like they might have never even heard of this, but in the summer camp they're already subnetting, like they're already working with Wireshark. These are steps already close to like industry certifications, like at 15, 16, which I think it's crazy. It's insane. Which I think is a big proponent for cybersecurity, but that's a topic for another day. Cool. So Gen Cyber, with the teams, they made it far. So how did they score them since no one made it out?
I believe they went by whoever got to the last room the quickest.
Okay.
Or actually, no, I'm wrong. They went by the points. Mm-hmm. So the top performing team was a lot of our junior members.
Yeah.
Coincidence, really. We assure you.
Coincidentally, it was our junior members. That's crazy. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome. And I believe the grand prize for the escape room was DEF CON tickets, right? Because the summer camp was in what, July?
It was in July.
Yeah. And then DEF CON's in August. So that's awesome that they got to get those tickets for free. Like those are expensive tickets if you don't know. To get those tickets to go for the whole 3 days, right? 4 days of DEF CON to experience that on top of the experience that they already got in the summer camp is just. That's crazy. That makes me wish someone was doing the things we were doing when I was younger, when I was a younger man. Cool. So outside of Gen Cyber, moving on from that, I know that was in about July, you said, right? So our summer's usually packed with a lot of events, fortunately/unfortunately. So after Gen Cyber, immediately following that and kind of like brewing up while Gen Cyber was going on was the ONCD. So since the Cyber Clinic's inception, we've hosted the ONCD twice. It's kind of a recurring thing with us. So the first time we hosted the ONCD was Director Inglis, and the second time was actually Director Walden. Both times, they both came and visited us. They kind of wanted to see what we were up to, what our members were doing, just to interact with the cybersecurity students and basically see the next workforce of the United States, right? So this time was special. First time, Director Inglis came by. He came to visit us, came to hear what we're doing. This time, Director Walden, she actually came by and wanted to present the White House's strategy for cybersecurity. We were the first campus, I believe, for her to release that strategy and go over the strategy with us, the new pillars of NIST. And it was just really interesting and intriguing to hear what she had to say. This was a little bit before DEF CON. So Director Walden, she had a background in education, I believe, as well. So she had some trivia that she gave to the crowd. She was asking the different sectors of the NIST cybersecurity framework, which, we know very well. We were shouting out those answers, and it was cool because whoever answered those trivia questions that she was giving during her presentation, they got a badge for DEF CON that could be used in the CTF, one of the White House CTF and DEF CON, which is super cool. Did you get one, Bianca? I believe Garrett got one. I know I got one. You were able to see them. They're like little white houses. They lit up. And if you don't know, DEF CON's all about the badges that light up. I know Bianca wanted to purchase like from the Biohacking Village a $200 badge with the heart on it. It was pretty sick, but like people love their light up badges at DEF CON. So to get a free one from Director Walden is pretty cool. So next podcast episode, you might see Bianca with the light up badge here on the show. You never know. But outside of her presenting the strategy, we had people who were private industry partners who were supporting, who had pledges for that strategy come on and talk about their pledges. We had a bunch of students from UNLV come, not just the cyber clinic, but our sister organization Layer Zero, new students just trying to get into cybersecurity. There's about, I would say, 60 to 70 people there in attendance. So it was really good to see everybody. And then at the end, we were able to wrap up the show. Myself and others presented basically what the cyber clinic's been up to. We talked about our training. We talked about the work that we're doing in the community, our outreach, and a lot of things that we're building upon. So that was super cool. It was super exciting for me to present because the first time Director Inglis came, I wasn't able to present. I was in the role I am currently, but this time around I was able to present. And for me, what I like to do with the cyber clinics, we like to show up in numbers. We like to go in packs and do things together because ultimately a lot of the stuff we do cannot be done by one person, or it has to be done together. So it was good to go up there, bring some of our colleagues up there together, and then each of us present on our different things that we're doing in the clinic. So I just get to tell the story. That's luckily for me, I get to tell the story. The people around me are the real heroes, the real people putting in the work. So it was pretty cool. What'd you think of the event?
Yeah, it went pretty well. It was interesting hearing from Director Walden, like what she said about the strategy, and it felt like a real privilege having her there. Mm-hmm. And she even got to get a little tour of the escape room because we still had it up.
Right, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, the escape room was still up, so a lot of the people from DC and the private partners and other students got to see the escape room, even though they weren't part of the camp. They got to run through it. Their hand was held. No, I'm just kidding. they got to run through and see the different strategies, so it was super cool for them to see that as well. And speaking about on Gen Cyber and then the whole ONCD conference, I'm super excited to see what comes this year, because if we were able to basically achieve the proof of concept in 2023, like this can be done. Now it's a question of where can we take it to? And that's what I'm looking forward to as well. So I'm super excited to see that, see what you guys have planned with Gen Cyber. Precursor to a little bit later on, Bianca is a former Gen Cyber student and a current Gen Cyber TA, so she's the full circle of Gen Cyber, but she'll get into more of that later. Outside of ONCD, moving forward to, I believe, October 2023, we had a couple big events in October too. And of course, Bianca was part of both of them. That's why she's here. She's a big baller in the clinic. So these two events were actually on the same day. The same day, Bianca did back-to-back presentations. And it during F1 weekend, because we're located in Las Vegas, so during that time they're preparing for the F1 races. So navigating through F1 traffic and all the busyness, she was able to get to back-to-back presentations on that morning. Super proud of her and super get to see you do that was awesome. So if you want to talk more about that, the first one is IIMA, is that we actually shared the stage together there.
Oh yeah, that was it was like a mini conference for information security or information management, right? Mm-hmm. So that was a really cool event because we got to present a lot about the clinic, and people were definitely very interested in what we were offering at the time. And it was a great way to like at least warm up for the next presentation that we had later that day.
What I thought was cool about IMA was like the first I is international for it. So we had people, we were meeting people from Europe, Asia, like there was different people there, just kind of chatting with them and getting their perspective on cybersecurity and seeing what they're doing, seeing what they're presenting is really interesting because it's cool enough that you get to meet other cybersecurity professionals in the field, but it's super cool to see people in other countries and what they're doing. And I just want to take a quick shout out to Dr. Manson. Thank you for giving us that opportunity to come out to the IMMA and helping us submit our paper and get our presentation all in order. So without your support, we wouldn't be able to do it. So appreciate you. And we would like to go this year too. So we'll see. It's in Manchester, so it's a long flight. We'll get there though. So next after IMMA, we had I call it SFS. So it was the SFS presentation. So if you want to talk more about that, that was Bianca headed that and killed it. So
right. So while we were at the IMA presentation, we were having a special guest. This was Dr. Siraj from the NSF, who's the program director at the NSF, and she's also the founder of the WESIS global organization.
Nice.
So she was trying to see what is going on our campus and how is our cybersecurity, how is our computer science programs here. And this was like in hopes to earn the SFS for UNLV.
Yeah. And just for those who don't know, that's a super prestigious award. I think only six or seven universities in the whole United States get awarded that award. And the opportunity that it's given to students is just, it's truly amazing. The opportunity that Bianca earned for future generations of UNLV cybersecurity students. Like her presentation and just talking with the director was amazing in itself. But now to have the opportunity giving back to the younger generations who will be able to, really reap the reward of this benefit is going to be insane to see. And I'm excited to see who gets it too. So I'm happy UNLV got it, and I'm excited to see who the SFS earnees are going to be.
Right. Yeah. That was an interesting presentation, but I couldn't have done it without Michael Lazaroff,
Shout out.
who is the former president of Layer Zero. So yeah, he did a great job helping me, and like we killed that presentation. So I'm happy that we definitely got it for UNLV.
Yep. Shout out, Mikey. Hope you're listening, man. And final update before we get into your story. So you might have noticed that we've kind of changed our terminology a little bit from previous podcasts, but we are no longer actually the free cyber clinic. As of last week, we've dropped the free. Our services are still no cost, but we are no longer the free cyber clinic. We're just cyber clinic, the cyber clinic. That's it. Period. End of day. End of discussion. That's who we are, and that's who we will be, and that's who we've always been, to be honest. So I'm ecstatic that we finally changed that name. I know a lot of people in our organization are as well. I've, like you, Bianca, I've been in this organization over 2 years, 2.5 actually. So to see, I've wanted this for a very, very long time, and I wanted to see this name change for a very long time. So to see that finally come through is going to be awesome. Our logo is most likely going to remain the same with that, because this is a iconic logo, but we're going to have a whole new run of merchandising, public relations, everything, and that's all going to be headed by Bianca right here. So I'm super excited. You could already you got a preview of the hoodie right here. This is a one-of-one friends and family, not even friends and family, just Bianca only edition. I wish I was wearing the dang hoodie, to be honest with you. I could have. So, but she got to wear it. So that's a sneak preview of the merch to come. So link in bio. No, I'm just kidding. Cool. So now that we kind of like hashed out some of the Cyber Clinic updates since July, everyone wants to know more about you, Bianca. We want to know more about our public relations officer, our fellow member, someone we've all been working around. A lot of people, we know you in the clinic. We know the work that everyone knows the work and respects the work that you've done. But we want to know Bianca, the individual, Bianca, the journey. So kind of walk me through like what got you into cybersecurity. I know you weren't always into cybersecurity, so let's start there.
Right. So I was not always into cybersecurity. So I went to a performing arts high school where I was majoring in music, basically. So I was in orchestra and I played the viola. I was super dedicated. Like I was planning on becoming a professional musician. Like that's how dedicated I was.
Juilliards.
Maybe not like that. I was good, not that good. Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, like, oh yeah, I was part of Gen Cyber. So in 2018, I got into the very first Gen Cyber that was held here at UNLV. So I was part of the very beginning of it.
Yeah, from the get-go.
Yeah, that was just my introduction to cyber. I never really experienced it, heard of it too much. And it just really sparked my curiosity and interest for the field. Yeah. So I just got way more into it later on. Like in my senior year, got into robotics, computer science. And then I was still super into music. But then what really made me change was like the pandemic. So I noticed many musicians were losing their job. Like, and there were many like cyber threats going on, and the industry was just under so much pressure.
Right. As it still is.
Yes. So I thought, okay, I thought back to Gen Cyber, what I learned from there, there's always going to be such a demand. There's going to always be job security, and people always need help in that. So I was like, hey, I want to be a part of the solution, and I should just go into computer science to better get into this.
Yeah.
But then I switched into information systems, but I'm pretty happy with that switch. So
I would have been happier if you would have been a CS major, because you would have been one of us. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So what kind of gave you that, like, you were part of the first Gen Cyber Camp, but like what kind of like say like, hey, I want to try this out? Like what kind of like pushed you towards that? Was it just like you were just like, hey, like let's try this, what's the worst that could happen? Or like did someone kind of like push you towards that? Or you just want to, hey, like I want to try something new, I want to see the vibe?
I remember when I was still auditioning for colleges, I decided to take a crack and apply for like a more upscale university in computer science. I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to get it. But then I did get accepted into it and offered like pretty decent scholarship. I was like, oh, okay, maybe.
Oh, it sounds talented. Talented.
So I thought maybe I can do this. I can really get into it. And I kept looking into different articles here and there. I was like, can I really do this? I don't have any background in coding. I completely music. I'm like, how can that go into cyber? But I was like, I saw these different things that said, hey, you don't need to have any specific background to get into cybersecurity. Yeah.
I think that's a big misconception too, just on a side note. Like a lot of people, I think just commonly people think you need to know how to code to get into cybersecurity, where honestly, the amount of coding you do in cybersecurity is very minimal and very, in terms of like programming, is very basic. So as I discussed before, my background is I'm a developer currently. So my background is in coding as well. So the scripting you do in cybersecurity is nowhere near the enterprise level applications that like programmers develop. So that's kind of a big misconception there. And I think that's really important what you said. You don't need to have any background to get into cyber. So that's super awesome. So got into UNLV, MIS or MIS? MIS bachelor's. Take me from that when you initially got into UNLV and then going into the cyber clinic.
So I was the COVID era. So for about a year, just virtual online. I was told about Layer 0 back at the first Gen Cyber.
Shout out Layer 0.
So, of course, I had to join it to definitely increase my skill set or knowledge in cyber.
Yeah.
So I tried to branch out more when we started coming back in person. So I met a few members from there, like Angel, met up with Bryce, which turned out we went to the same high school, and he went to Gen Cyber.
Right. That's awesome. Hey, cyber's a small world. You'll see the same people around.
Right. So from there, I also joined Girls Who Code at the time, because there was just, in music, I was so used to seeing like a lot of women around, not that many guys, and then going to STEM, switch 180.
It's a complete 180, and you know that is something we're working on. We as a whole sec field are working on.
Right. So joined Girls Who Code, and it was pretty fun at first, like getting into it and getting like more encouraged. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I feel pretty safe and all this. This is really encouraging, at least to keep going. Then while being in Layer 0, I learned about CodePath, which had this cybersecurity intro course, which was taught by Christian and Colton from the clinic.
So you're just meeting people.
Small world, you know?
It is a small world.
So again, I learned even more cybersecurity projects, skills. I learned how to do this really cool honeypot project,
Mm-hmm.
which is so cool. And then having met Christian through CodePath, he told me about the clinic because it was kind of going through that development there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this seems pretty interesting. I'm wanting to see what this gets into.
Mm-hmm. And then you just applied.
Yep.
And I do remember. Before I've interviewed a lot of people for the clinic, so I went back and through my memory archive, and I was like, yeah, I do remember your interview. So it's super awesome to see how far you've come from that interview so early on. Now let's talk about your time in the clinic. So initially, when you started out, I remember you were right off the bat assigned to SOP. That was your life's work. So I think right off the bat you were assigned to SOP. That was your responsibility, and then later on you got assigned to other roles, ultimately taking a bigger role in the elections as well, or post elections. So talk me through that. Talk me through your experiences. I know you've definitely changed, grown a lot during the clinic. Because when I first met you, when I first met Bianca, she would not be in this room. She would not be here in front of y'all doing this podcast, talking with you guys. But fast forward 2 years later, she's energetic. She's talking on the podcast. She's smiling, night and day difference. So talk me through that. Talk me through some of your experiences.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to reflect on for sure. When I first entered the clinic, I was definitely very reserved. I kept to myself. I was not very trusting of people, and I was just very nervous talking to people in general. And I think what's interesting with the clinic, there's always this kind of phase you go through. There's always going to be something to challenge you.
Yeah.
So that was always brought up. And I think the environment was super helpful. Oh, we got this going on. Oh, we got to get on this. We're all working on this together. So.
The camaraderie.
Yes,
yeah.
The camaraderie. And I think something that I've learned over my time in the clinic is just you got to get over what makes you scared, or you just got to do what makes you scared. Mm-hmm. So something I heard a while back was okay, there's fear, right? Fear can mean forget everything and run, but you got to just learn how to face everything and rise.
Yeah. Dang. She's dropping bars on this Cyber Clinic Central podcast. That's my job. No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So with the clinic, you definitely have to learn how to face everything and rise up to the challenge. So that's how you'll just grow as a person. You have to get out of that comfortable
comfort zone.
Yes. Otherwise, you won't grow. Which, like you mentioned, I'm a lot more outgoing now, which is so great. And now my favorite type of networking, social networking. That's my favorite joke in the clinic, as we all know.
That's her. That is her favorite joke. But then I think you're completely right. That's one of the things that the clinic definitely pushes people to do. Step outside that comfort zone. Honestly, I feel like it's by design. I feel like we have always assigned people projects that pushes them outside of the comfort zone and ultimately makes us and the individual better for the long run, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to make you the best possible person you could be for whatever your future opportunities may be, and even outside your career, just the best individual you could be. So just pushing you to constantly improve, and even putting you in uncomfortable situations is what we want to do, and just rising above that, like you said. Couldn't have said it any better, to be honest. So let's talk about year 2. So SOP, crushed it. 1 year, done. We're good, right? Elections come up. Some stuff happens. Next thing you know, we find you in the public relations officer role, a role that I once had at one point. So, and you've killed it, to be honest. We had a conversation the other day, you and me, and we were talking, would you do? You were asking me, would I do it again? I was like, no, because I can't follow up what you did. I don't think I'd be able to do the level of work that you're doing in PR. So talk to me about your experience in PR, what kind of approach that you've done with it, and how you've kind of taken our social media to the next level. Because when it was under me, it was very fresh. So I had the novelty of we didn't have anything. So we went from nothing to having something, and it was a pretty decent something. But now you took something and made it even better and pushing it to the next level, which is harder. Because if there's nothing beforehand, there's not really an expectation. But to take something that was okay, it was okay, and make it so much better is really impressive.
Right. So when I became the new PR officer, it was right in the middle of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So that was interesting.
Perfect timing.
Oh, yes. We were posting basically every day.
Every day.
And that was definitely a trying time, but it was, again, another opportunity to rise up to the challenge.
Yeah.
So I took it on, rolled with it. And I was like, hey, let's bring back some more content. Let's bring some fresh content, right? So we even created some more of our cyber memes, so to say. One of them went pretty viral, which was surprising. I saw that. That's awesome. Pretty great. And continuing with it, I mean, I couldn't have done it without the people in PR. I mean, they're what make the clinic go round, right?
Yep.
So with so many great skill sets in there. I mean, shout out to all of them.
Shout out the PR team.
Yeah, it's been pretty good so far. So
yeah, I think it's awesome. And what I'm super excited to see is not only Cyber Clinic Central back, is the short videos come back and the skits. So I'm gonna little brief teaser. Those are coming back, and I've seen them behind the scenes. They're pretty funny. They're good. Shout out to the people in those videos. You'll see them very soon. I think they're awesome. I think they're super awesome.
Yes, I'm so happy to see skits come back. Those are gonna be so great.
Yeah, that's honestly how I felt about it when we first brought the skits on. I felt like that's kind of like we're kind of hitting both ends of like how people learn, because like you got to approach learning different ways. You can't just be black and white, read off a PowerPoint, go for your certification, read off the book, and that's how you learn. Like you got to make learning fun. And, you're not going to have it. You're going to have people who learn like that. You have to cutthroat people who learn like that, and that they're the trailblazers, right? But cybersecurity is something that everybody should know, not just like the top people, the most technical people, the most like, I don't know, like aptive people most receptive people to take like this type of stuff, right? Cybersecurity is something that everybody should be able to learn. So we have to have different form factors where they could absorb that knowledge. Like it can't just be a textbook. It can't just be a PowerPoint. Like it has to be fun. So the skits, how you're doing them, like it gives a fun way, approachable way for people like, hey, it's funny, but they're true. It's true though. Like they're teaching us something to take away from this. So I personally enjoy that type of learning too. Like not everything has to be so black and white and so stringent. So I think that's awesome. Cool. So what's next, Bianca? I want to end this podcast kind of thinking about what's next for you from this point on. I know you have another endeavor that you want to talk about as well today. And then at the end, I just want you to wrap up like what kind of advice or words you have for like new members and new initiates in the cyber clinic, because a lot of people that are new to the clinic are watching this. They're getting to know you. Give them some words of advice to kind of like help them or encourage them on their way. And what helped you when you first started? So go ahead.
Okay. So I guess starting off with what you first addressed, what's next for me, then I have definitely changed a lot through my time in the clinic. And I mean, if you told me, oh yeah, you started an organization at UNLV. So I started the new WESIS, or Women in Cybersecurity student chapter here.
It all comes full circle from what we said earlier.
Yeah, like even going back to how I noticed there's just not that many women in STEM in general. So trying to create that space for women to be encouraged that they can definitely succeed in the field is something very necessary, especially with how involved UNLV is in general with cyber. I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So when did you start the WESIS chapter?
It became official in December, but we are kicking off our events this semester.
I know you just had one this week, right?
Yep.
How many members do you have so far?
We're sitting at about 25 right now.
See, that's awesome. Not even a year old, already 25 members. When we were a year old, we had like 18. That's awesome. So outside of that, when do you graduate?
It seems like I may graduate this December.
This December? Okay.
But that's not going to be the end for me. I will be planning to take my master's in cyber.
Okay. Are you stopping at the master's, or you might consider something after that?
Well, if we ever come up with the cyber doctorate for cyber, why not?
I think that'd be awesome. I think you'd be a pretty good professor, honestly. I think it's pretty cool. So if you had one thing to give to the members, initiates listening to this, something they could take away, take that, apply it, improve themselves, what would that be? Because obviously you've changed a lot since going to clinic. You've gone from the old Bianca to like kicking ass Bianca.
I will probably repeat what I've said earlier. Redefine fear, face everything, and rise.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And with that being said, thanks for watching Cyber Clinic Central, guys. We'll see you on the next time.